Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Excitech BIM 360 surgery. This morning, it's the Christmas edition, and it's surgery number 61. And today, we're going to take a look at the latest updates in and around document management. So, there's been a huge amount of updates in the last week with Revit issues and lots of other bits and pieces, but this one's all around the new document management things. So I'm going to take you through what has changed and what little bits and pieces that hopefully can help you in your day-to-day workflows. So first of all, it's around transmittals. So I don't use a huge amount of them, but they do exist within document management. So we can click into the transmittals tab. And in here, what they've done is they've changed a couple of small little things around how they work. So one of the key features when we go to create a transmittal is that now we can select documents from multiple folders. So if we take an example, I can go to plans, click into approved, and let's say take some PDFs. And I can also scroll down into project files and also add in any other information within there. So I can go into my 3D design, let's say choose my Revit project, and then I can click create. So I can give this a name. So I could say, Arch issue for comment, and then I can enter recipients. So I'm going to send it to myself. Then I can set the permissions so the recipient can see all the other recipients, or they can only see themselves. So again, just depending on the privacy that you want. And at this point, you can also click add documents, and then you can add in for the documents if you wish. So if you've got any confidential information that you wish to add in, you can add in extra documents here as well, and then you can click create. So that will then send a transmittal, so we now have the access to multiple folders, and we can also add in existing documents as we go on. So once we go into the transmittal, you can have a look. You can see that it is here, and then we can download as normal and do the same information. So you can see it just links to all the files within that transmittal. So we can go back and look at all the transmittals, and you can see that they are all in this process. So another change, where it's kind of hard to show, is that you can send transmittals now to pending members. So if you've got a member within your environment that they've not activated and signed in yet, they'll be still pending. But if they're added into the project, you can still transmit that transmittal. So when you go to create transmittal, you add your documents. That information will allow us to pick a pending member. So if we just show that, we select this PDF. That when we choose the recipients in here, it will also do any pending members. So they will also appear within your list. It's also good to note that anyone with view permissions within the transmittal will also be able to export that transmittal out. Not sure why that's just decided to sign out on me, but a couple of small little changes that hopefully will help your transmittal workflows. The next thing is the guys at Autodesk have made some nice changes around the increase for the upload and download. So you can now add up to 1,000 files within a single zip file. So when you're adding stuff into it, it can now increase to 1,000. And then when you download, there is a download limit of 4,000 items at a time. And what will happen is that each time you hit 1,000, it will create it into a zip file. And so you can effectively then download 4,000 files at a time, and that will then download as 4 separate zip files. Another new thing is they've added in support for MP4s. So if you've got some video content that sits within your project, so I've got one here. So before we would have to download this, you can see I've got quite a hefty file. So this is my Autodesk University recording. So I can now click it, and it will open within the BIM 360 viewer, and you can see that it's native in here now, and I can click play. And you can listen to me talk twice, and how soothing that would be. So instead of having to download, you can just navigate, open the MP4, and play it directly from within that environment. And it's got all the version control as well and all that type of stuff. So I think it's a really nice feature that we can now embed the videos directly within the system. Another little slight update that is if you're working with your project members and you assign them view permissions to a folder, that they will now have access to the document log. So what that means is that if they've got a view permission, they can select document log, and then they can create that report of that document log if they've got view permission. So something nice to note, that if you've got that permission, they will then be able to generate that document log from themselves. And this brings me on sort of to the last bit and the last update. They've made a little subtle change to the search features, but this change, I think, is going to be pretty substantial in what they've done, in the fact that if I look at, let's say, some 2D design content, is that we can now do context searching. So if we look at this PDF plan, so they've introduced context searching for vector PDFs. And what that means is that I can look at the content within here, and let's take a room. So let's say we find the janitor room. So if I want to find that, I can find the context of that room within the document via the search feature. So now that you're looking at a particular folder, you can search for documents. And when you click in here, you will see that this new section dropout now reports. It says it's search context. And if you hover over the information, you'll see that it's support for the PDF vector only. So if this is ticked on, now I can search within the documents for what I'm looking for. So if I test this out and I search janitor, and I click enter, it will search that, and it's now searching the documents, and you will now see it has returned 2 of the PDFs within that search result. So we can now look at this one. You'll see that somewhere in this document will be that context of the janitor room. So it will be somewhere in here that it will then have returned that search. So basically, as you search, you can tick it off. So that will obviously be much quicker. And if we search janitor, you will see that it's looking for a document name and nothing returns. If we click in here and we search the context again and then search again, we're now getting that information. So it's now returning. So that is a huge step forward for me to be able to do that context search, to search within a document. If you're looking for something that you know what it is, but you're not sure where that document has been located or what the document is called. One thing to note, that the context searching does not seem to be implemented in plans as yet. You can see when I click into search, it won't return and give me that option to search the context of documents in plans. So not sure where that's coming, but it is just seems to be in project files currently. So I think that's the nicest bit along with the MP4s, is some really nice updates. And again, this system and platform is really progressing at a rapid rate. And just to show you the context of that, if we look at the release notes, there's been a raft of updates over the last couple of days. So obviously the big one has been the Revit issue add-in for both support in Revit 2020 and 2021. We now have other things around the standard fields within issues, and we've got checklist archiving, which is a really, really nice feature. So they are developing rapidly. That's pretty much it for me for this year as well as today. Thank you very much for everyone that checks out the surgeries. Have a great Christmas, great New Year, stay safe,